Welcome back to PCOS Unfiltered, Nourish, Heal, Thrive, the podcast where we cut through the noise and get real about healing from the inside out. I'm your host, Lindsay, and today is the second episode of this powerful two-part series. We will continue diving into the mind-body connection in a way you may have never heard before. My guest is Matt Travis, a mind and body transformation specialist, hypnotherapist, and expert in rapid transformation therapy. Matt helps people break free from the subconscious patterns and emotional blocks that keep them stuck so they can heal, grow, and live in alignment with who they really are. We will continue talking all things subconscious healing and the role our beliefs play in physical health, but particularly how German New Medicine brings a fascinating lens to conditions like PCOS. Whether you've struggled with symptoms that won't budge, or you're just tired of feeling like your body's working against you, this episode will help you see things differently. Let's jump in. And actually, it's a good lead-in because I wanted to transition to German New Medicine. So can you just explain what is it a little bit more? How does it differ from traditional medicine or even just other mind, body, healing methods?
So I'll preface German New Medicine with when I first came across this, I had already read two books that really, really helped me be able to actually understand this concept. So I read two books. I read a book by Bruce Lipton called The Biology of Belief. And it's interesting because I don't know if Bruce had ever looked at German medicine at all, but it was so connected. So it was really fascinating. That book, totally awesome. Recommend it to any listeners because and also The Body Keeps the Score. So this is about how we store trauma in our body. Okay, we store trauma in our cells. And then also, actually, the last book is a book just called Trauma by Paul Conti. Also really, really, really powerful, powerful book. And I just started going down. This was probably circa 2018, 2019. I'm diving into these things. Maybe, I don't even know. It may have been before that, but I just giving you some context. Because I was really, really fascinated with how our mind and everything is connected with our body. Okay. And how is that? And for any of you that have, ever heard of the placebo effect or the nocebo effect, it's really amazing. Really amazing. You can give people pills that are sugar pills and they get better. If that's not proof that your mind is more powerful than anything and your mind can heal, that's what I say to people all the time. I'm not really helping them heal or do anything else like that. I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be. I am here to guide you to figure out the truth about how your mind works and how powerful it really is. And some people aren't ready for that, and that's fair. So basically in 2020, so January 2020, I was going through my certification for rapid transformation therapy with Marissa Peer and fully got certified, everything in March 2020. And I don't know if you all remember what went down March 2020. It was kind of wild for those kids that are listening. It's that was COVID. It hit at that time and it was nuts. And of course, the amount of people that volunteered to do sessions with me, because I was in my practice phase at that time, I was able to do 100 sessions from March all the way till December of that year. I went all in, y'all. Because I was I want to go and see what happened.
And there wasn't much else going on. So
Exactly. So I was you know what? I'm going to use this time to get really good. Because the interesting thing is I've never done a session in person ever. It's all been via Zoom. It's all like this. It's really wild. And I think that's part of the fact that I just never needed to. I never had to. And it actually was beneficial because my whole business is online. So I could help anyone anywhere across the world. I've worked with people in Africa, Australia, UK, Japan, like literally everywhere. So there's no place where I can't help someone, which I freaking love. Um, but of course, when you start to learn all this stuff, so I read the books, I read, I got certified, did 100 sessions, and then I came across my mentor Jake. Okay, so Jake, shout out, he was the man, and he introduced this concept of German New Medicine to me. And I remember the first time I looked at it, it's a different language. Like you go to the site and you're like, I don't even know. Like I remember
Yeah.
looking at it and being like, I don't understand any of this. I want to, but I don't understand it. And so this must have been 2021, 2022. Okay, 2022. I remember because I had a tough year in 2022. And I'm so grateful to Jake. Like more than he'll ever know. I tell him anytime I talk to him. But he was offering mentorship and training around German medicine, and I was like, I want to do this. I want to learn more about this. That I know there's something to it, and I went into it like being like, oh, this will help my clients. That was the thought process, and like literally, it was like a week or two in. I said, I'm doing this for me. And I don't often do that. I'm one of those people. I love, love, love helping others. But I was like, man, this actually has helped. It's helped me. It's helped me so much, so much. And I know it's helped you too, Lindsay. Like learning about it. It's just like such a
Yeah.
fascinating thing. So I think the best way to describe German medicine is to explain how it happened, how it came about in the 70s, right? Because it's it's not well accepted. Like it's just not.
Yeah.
But because I've learned so much and I've seen so much and I've been in the trenches with people, it made so much sense and it made me realize how powerful it was, how powerful it is, and how when you can really like combine this with things like rapid transformation therapy and hypnotherapy and stuff like that, it is powerful. Okay. And so basically the story goes like this. I want to make sure I say this correctly, all of it correctly.
Mhm.
So, oh my goodness, I'm drawing blanks. We'll get there. Don't worry. I'm gonna be, it'll be all right. So, Dr. Hammer, okay, so Dr. Hammer, he is a well-known cancer doctor in Germany at the time. Okay, so he starts to, be very well known in these circles, and he's just, he has a whole clinic and he's treating patients and so on and so forth. And then his son Dirk, I believe he went to Italy and he ended up had like a fluke incident where like an Italian prince shot him. Okay, in intensive care for 2 weeks, died in Dr. Hammer in Dad's arms. Okay, dies in Dad's arms, and obviously traumatizing, right? To lose a kid for sure. And so what happens is within 3 months, Dr. Hammer developed testicular cancer. And he was like, this doesn't make sense. He postulated, he was like, there's got to be something around my son's death and this diagnosis. Like, there's got to be something here. Okay. And so he, of course, having the ability to go and check in with other testicular cancer patients, he goes and he checks in with all of them. And he goes to his clinic and he starts interviewing all of them. He asks all of them, he says, was there anything that happened, acute traumatizing thing pre testicular cancer diagnosis? Okay. And not just one, but every single one of them. Like it might have been a dog dying or whatever it is, right? So this blew his mind. And of course, at this point, my mind, I'm starting to geek out because I'm like, this is crazy. Like there's we start following the breadcrumbs. And so he was like, all right, I need to start doing brain scans on these folks and start seeing like, there's this psychological conflict that's happened, right? This acute trauma that's happened. And then does it have an impact on the brain? So he starts doing these brain scans and he realizes that in all of these testicular cancer patients, on their brain, in a certain spot on all these folks' brain, there's this cylinder, this ring that develops on their brain. Okay. He calls it a Hammer focus. And he's blown away. Okay. And of course, the imaging in that time, he wanted to make sure that it wasn't like just like a fluke. So he not only did it from up top, but he did it from the side as well, just to check. And every patient, everything across the board, all of them hit. He's like, man, this is crazy. And so then he started to dig in. Okay, well, why? Right? Why is this happening? And so what he realized is that, and I don't have all of the jargon around this, but this is what my takeaway from it was: when you start to develop a like a mass, right? Like a tumor on your testicle, you it increases your testosterone and it increases a lot of the other things in your testicle that makes it easier to procreate. Okay. And so it basically, which is wild. And so his body, right? You have this trauma, then his brain was like, this is what's happening. Here's this issue so that you can procreate again, solving the problem of your lost child. And that's when my jaw fell to the floor. And I was like, I need to know more. Like, I need to know more. I need to know why this happens. I need to know all of these things. Like, I was like, I need to know everything. Before, when I looked at the site, it was so confusing. After learning that and after, spending a year with Jake, like, I just was like, everything has a connection. I mean, everything. Okay. And this is very, very important for those of you that are already freaking out when you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, he's saying that, this is, you can cure cancer, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not saying any of that. Okay. You do your own research, folks. Okay. I'm just telling you what I've learned and my own experience with folks and how this has all gone down. Okay. Um, so then I'm learning from Jake, and one of my favorite stories he tells is about a guy that came to him that had an allergy to pizza. And he says that this guy, he can have cheese on its own and he's totally fine. He can have bread on its own and it's totally fine. And he can have sauce on its own and it's totally fine. And so he goes, well, when, you obviously haven't been allergic to pizza your whole life. And he's like, no. And he said, well, when's the first time you remember being allergic to pizza? And he had to go back. The guy went back to this time in university. Okay. And he said there was a time in university when uh, he had this idea that he would go out, he would get a whole pizza. He was like a broke college kid, right? So he'd go out, he'd get a pizza, he'd be able to eat it for dinner and then save it for the next day and have it for lunch. Classic college kid math, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so he goes out with his buddies, they get, hammered and they get this pizza, they're eating the pizza. One of his buddies was so drunk that when he tried to get out of the car and take the pizza with him, his buddy like freaks out, lost his mind, and takes the whole pizza and throws it at his face. Okay, throws it at his face. He gets pizza and it's all dripping down, all that stuff. From then on out, because of that moment in time, it was very traumatic to him. He then would try to eat pizza and he'd have like these allergic reactions, psyche, brain, organ
Wow.
stuff, right? And of
Yeah.
course, when Jake worked him through this and he had all these ahas, he now can eat pizza. He's fine, okay? But we have to see it and be free of it. And so I realized I was doing this anyways without even knowing about German New Medicine when I was doing rapid transformation therapy, RTT. So I was like,
Mhm.
man, this is crazy. This is so nuts. Okay. And so I started to realize, and this was another one. So I had a client of mine. She, and then I'm going to give you all some amazing stuff tonight or today, whatever you're listening to this, around German New Medicine. But are we cool? Are we still good? We keep
Yeah.
going? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So I had a client on a call. She had caught COVID. This was during COVID time. This was a group call. She caught COVID. Her apartment at the time had mold, so she like was displaced. Okay, we call that a refugee conflict. Okay, in German New Medicine. So she was displaced, and then her best friend and her had like a falling out. She also had she had a refugee conflict and an abandonment conflict. Okay, and then she was sick on top of that. And so this is where I started to like apply it with my clients. So she says to me, she brings all this up before she even explained that other stuff. She said, I developed this horrible eczema back behind my ear, like horrible, horrible eczema. She's like, it's brutal. And I'm like, that's horrible. And then so I just started asking her questions, and that's how I learned those three things had happened to her. And so then I asked her this question that literally like made her cry and blew her mind. I said, when you had your best friend in a moment like this, because of course, when you get, kicked out of your apartment and you have COVID, you want your people you love the most around you, right? And so I said, when she would, comfort you or like console you or whatever it was, what would she do? And this is when her eyes like blew up and she like started crying. She used to take my hair and she would rub like my hair and bring it behind my ear. Like, and just do one of those things, kind of like your mother would do when you were a kid. She'd like stroke your hair and not for me. But I think this is what you would do if you had a little girl,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But so it's not like an uncommon thing, but that's what she would do.
Mhm.
And so my client was like, "That's nuts." And literally within a week, eczema gone,
Wow.
like all gone, like nuts. Because we resolved the conflict at the level of the psyche, and I didn't even have that wasn't even hypnosis. That was on a group call, like one night, and the other clients were kind of blown away as well. They're like, "This is nuts." But there's basically three things, and if you're open to it, I have questions that you can ask yourself
Hmm.
just around weight release alone, if that's something we want to do, or we can put it into the show notes if they want that as well. But it's really powerful because there's basically three different conflicts that come up for people when it comes to they're basically journal questions that you can ask yourself. And there's three types of conflicts when it comes to weight, okay, weight gain, stuff like that. And then there's also questions that you can ask yourself for PCOS. Maybe we'll include those things in the show notes, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
before we go into that, I just unloaded like three crazy stories on people. So
No,
want to
I mean,
make
I
sure
think
we're on
that,
track.
yeah, I think that that really, like, I just want, my goal for this was just to kind of become aware of the concept and learn, a little bit about what it was. Yeah, I mean, we could always bring you back for another time and we could go deeper, of course,
Yeah,
but I think just learning about it, like even for me, now that I understand the concept, I can just kind of like, when my brain starts going, because again, we're very similar in that way,
totally.
just start learning about it. But you have to understand like the base, the basis of where it's coming from for sure. So that's
For
cool.
sure. Yeah. And it helped me understand a lot around sexual trauma as well for people. And whether it's male or female, a lot of times you'll have females and they're not linking sexual trauma with things like
Mhm.
hysterectomies and stuff like that. Like they're just not putting it all together. Maybe they blocked it out. There's just a lot of things around that. So it's an interesting just a different thought process. And if you hear this and you're like bullshit, by all means, totally get it. Like I
Yeah.
100% get it.
Yeah.
And when I started learning about this stuff for myself, it made pain go away in my body. I'll give you an example. So I learned that a lot of your enoughness issues uh, lead to pain in your hips. Okay. Because I had like lower back pain and hip pain since freshman in high school. When I learned about all this and I learned about the link between the hips and all that stuff, it blew my mind because I went back there and I realized what had happened during that time frame. So I went from the biggest guy on the football team in eighth grade just like no one could stop me in 8th grade, to freshmen in high school getting run over by seniors in high school.
Mm.
And so I literally developed this conflict, right? And I was out for half of the freshman year with hip pain, right? And of course, when you look at it, it was like, oh, hip flexor, this is your issue, so on and so forth. But why did the hip flexor tighten up? Why was all this stuff? Yes, there is peak height velocity, there's, growing children, all that stuff. There's all that stuff. And I just look at it like, what if there is a psyche, brain, and organ connection between all of these things? It's worth taking a peek at, right?
Yeah.
And if you're open to it, it can change your life because I don't have that problem anymore, which
Yeah.
blows my mind. I had pain
Yeah.
in my hip my whole life. Did so much foam rolling and so much myofascial release, physical therapy. And it's interesting because anytime in my life that I start to feel like I'm not enough, I'll start to get slight pain back. And it's just the weirdest thing to me. But I
Mm.
am able to be aware of that. And that's the thing. Awareness, like you just said, is
Yeah.
sometimes that's all we need, just to be aware of the fact that this is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So with PCOS, it's a lot of times tied to a loss conflict.
Yep.
So can you maybe talk about that a little bit more?
For sure. So yeah, like as you and just so everybody understands, when I say these different things like abandonment conflict, refugee conflict, existence conflict, loss conflict, like these are just different psychological conflicts that we can go through, right? So like abandonment conflict, it could be like, where do you feel isolated in your life? Have you been excluded? Okay. Now a loss conflict, this can cause a whole host of different things.
Mhm.
Okay, it can cause a whole host of different things, and you can have lost conflicts in so many different ways. Like let's say you lose an animal. Okay, you lose for me, like literally, my golden retriever is underneath my feet right now. She's my girl. Like she's my shadow, and if anything happened, a lot of people don't realize how powerful and important these things are in our lives. But you lose a loved one, you lose a child, you lose anything, right? It can have a massive impact on you.
Mhm.
So I know for me and my wife, we had 2 miscarriages, and um, thinking back now, knowing and understanding this subconscious and understanding German New Medicine and understanding all of that and understanding the stress and stuff that we were going through during that time frame, my wife felt like she lost her husband because the crazy person that I am, was a full-time teacher, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., then going and running a fitness facility from 3:30 to 8 p.m. and destroying my health while I'm running this whole thing, which was nuts. Lindsay and I could go all day on that one. That's a whole different podcast, folks. But
Yeah.
uh but of course, like her body wouldn't let her hold a child, right? Like because it was unsafe, unfamiliar. Like it was like, what if he keeps doing this? What if I lose him? It's not safe to bring a child into this. And of course, I closed the fitness facility, and she started doing the work she needed to do internally. After IVF failed a bunch of times, she went to acupuncture. And it was crazy because my wife went to acupuncture. I always have trouble telling the story. Give me a second. She went to acupuncture, and oh my goodness, she came home and it was like blood came back to her body. Like I remember seeing her and being like, I got my wife back. And literally we got pregnant within a month of that. But it
Yeah.
was like crazy because it's like everything's interconnected, folks. Like if you don't if you if you if you realize just from this show today, like if you just realize the power that you have in your body and your mind,
Mhm.
that your body and your mind is so powerful. Like it's what's allowed me to heal my life and my body. I know for you as well, right? So
Yeah.
that's why having these conversations about this stuff is so important. So loss conflict, folks, if you realize when your symptoms, this is kind of how we do it with any of this stuff. So we actually don't in German medicine, you don't look at it from a diagnosis standpoint. You're not like PCOS, blah 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 blah. you look at it from a symptom standpoint. What are the symptoms that this
Mhm.
person's going through? Okay. So there's obviously a lot of symptoms, and I'm sure you go through those in great detail in the podcast, but there's a lot of symptoms and a lot of things that can happen. So you go back to that time where you first experienced that symptom. Okay. So that's if you do nothing else with this information today, folks, start investigating. Now, interestingly enough, when it comes, this is something fascinating I learned. For those of you that have skin issues, so particularly skin issues, it creates a memory loss thing. And so a lot of times people have trouble remembering where it started. It's like a weird thing just with skin issues. It's just
Mm.
with skin issues. Fascinating stuff.
See, I learned
Um,
that today. Yeah.
yeah. So that's that. But with any of your symptoms from PCOS, I I just implore you to just go back and think, when did this start? Because it probably wasn't there your whole life. So it's worth going back and saying, oh, during this time, I had a horrible loss conflict, like my first love, like I lost him or her and they, either they passed away or they just, but my heart was broken, right? And that just stuck, right? And everybody's different, okay? So like that's that's what I try to tell my clients all the time. Like trauma is trauma. Your trauma is no less than anybody else's. Like you might label it that way, but your mind doesn't compartmentalize this stuff, y'all. Like
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, over here, this is where our weight loss stuff is, in this part of our brain, this is where we
Yeah.
do deal with money, this is where we deal with business. Like it's all connected. And that's why, like, as a coach myself, like I don't limit myself to just business or just health and stuff like that. It's all connected, y'all. Like
Yeah.
every single thing. And that's where when you realize this, it empowers you. That's the goal. It's the empowerment of all of this.
hmm Which is definitely an overarching theme. I mean, I say it in my intros a lot. It's just with this podcast. Yeah, I just want you to walk away feeling empowered and just a little bit more knowledgeable and know, kind of more what's out there. Dive into some of these symptoms more. Know that you don't just have to accept what you're given, and there is
Yeah.
more for sure. Um, I was going to add, yeah, or ask, I guess, the freeing part that you've mentioned, because I think that's a huge part too. So, yes, they can tie it to, whatever it was, that loss or whatever that is. But then just the freeing part of that, I think is the huge part of
And this is
it,
so
right?
important. And I hope if you're listening, you made it this far because this is a really, really important piece to this puzzle that people don't
Mm.
understand. When you resolve an issue at the level of the psyche. So let's say after you listen to this show, you go back and you're like, oh my God, you like have this remembrance of this thing and you're linking it all together and you resolve it and you have that freeing feeling, like Lindsay said. What can happen is you can go into what's called a healing phase. Okay. Now,
Hmm.
healing phase sucks. Okay. And what happens is a lot of times people think, oh no, it's getting worse when you're actually healing. Okay. So that's
Yeah.
why I give this warning because what happens is that when you resolve it, the level of the psyche, it can start a whole process of healing inside of your body. That happens. It has nothing to do with me or Lindsay. It's your body doing the work because you've resolved it at the level of the psyche, then at the level of the brain, and then the organs just start doing whatever they're doing. I mean, I had clients that worked with me. They would go through not just the mental part of it, the rapid transformation therapy part, but the eating part. And, they were literally, this was blew my mind. They were in menopause and then they were doing the eating stuff and the mental stuff, the mind and body stuff. That's why I call my program the Mind and Body Master. It's like, and then they all of a sudden went backwards and they went out of menopause. And they
Mm-hmm.
get pissed because they're like, I thought I was done with this, you know, and yet it's because the body is and the mind are so powerful and they're fully linked. You're not disconnecting those
Hmm.
folks. So
Yeah.
um, awareness is powerful, but it can also create healing. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I know we kind of need to wrap up.
wrap. Yep.
So, what are some simple, or are there, I know the answer to this. Are there some simple techniques that listeners can try at home to begin tapping into their subconscious for healing?
Absolutely. I mean, I put out a lot of just hypnosis recordings online. So you could totally use those, but that's one way. Another way, and this is probably the easiest, best way, is when you do visualization, you create an emotional connection to it. So our subconscious is not it's not so much affected by our thoughts, but it's affected by our emotionally charged thoughts. Okay. So if you've ever heard, your thoughts create your reality, it's really like, I mean, everything we've talked about today explains how, like, trauma, if you have a traumatic experience, it can affect you for the rest of your life, right? If you let it. So I always say, like, if we can create an emotionally charged thoughts in our mind, it can make such a huge impact. So I call it the wish fulfilled. So it's just like thinking in your mind, like bringing a scene to your mind that is that can only happen if the thing that you want is has occurred. Okay. So let me give you an example. I do this with, women that want to, uh, like find the love of their life. I also do it with women that want to have babies. Okay. So the cool thing is about those two things is if you, let's say you want to find the love of your life and get married, I have them imagine themselves on their wedding day and I have them they don't usually have a ring yet. So they're just like, they're spinning the ring on their finger and they're spinning the ring on their finger and they're looking at their significant other and they're walking, and maybe it's walking down the aisle or, maybe it's your dance or whatever. And you're just having that moment and you're feeling it. So like, I'm already there. Like I can't get it out of my head. I'm already there just thinking about it. And you just have that moment and you do that right when you wake up in the morning, right before you go to sleep at night. Very simple. Why do people not do it? Because it's super freaking simple. And yet those, and why in the morning and then at night, those are the most influential times of the day for your subconscious. Okay. Now, could you do it at any time of the day? Absolutely. So don't get all dogmatic. Okay. But you could do it any time of the day. Same goes for like I said, with the, if a woman's trying to get pregnant and I'm working with her on that, like we do it like she's holding the baby and all those things and all the, the beauties of motherhood and things like that. But you can do this with any of the symptoms or things and that you want to dissipate over time. Like imagine yourself that you could only have this thing happen if you were living in your desired reality, aka wish fulfilled. And then
Yeah.
you just do that. Now, why do people not do it? Well, the subconscious doesn't want you to. It loves what's safe, familiar, predictable, and certain. So it'll be like,
Hmm.
nah, that Matt dude, don't listen to him. Lindsay, I'm not listening to her anymore. Right. So I'm just telling you, folks, what will happen. It'll try to talk you out of it. And if you keep
Yeah.
pushing through it, right, you're going to create this identity and this transformation, and your future will never be the same.
Yeah. I know in my program I've used your recordings. And yeah, I mean, I've gotten all good feedback, of course.
Yeah,
But one thing is, like, some people don't fall asleep to it, but they listen to it first thing in the morning, just kind of
totally.
as they're waking up and starting their day and doing some things. And of course, that's always better than turning on the news or grabbing your phone,
Sure.
too. So yeah, um, that's a
Yep.
great point.
Yeah.
Um,
And like I said, like if you're like, I don't want to do hypnosis, I don't want to do anything, that all I just explained to you right there, emotionally charged thoughts and imagining that, your mind doesn't know what's real or imagined, folks. It doesn't know. Perfect example of this is if you've ever watched a horror film and freaked out when, the chainsaw guy jumps out, you freak out. Your mind thinks that that's happening. So you don't know, right? So isn't that weird? And then, of course, you sleep
Yeah.
with the lights on, but as a logical adult that it's not real, but yet you freak yourself out.
Yeah.
It's wild,
Yeah.
but that's the mind.
Yeah. It is. So last question is, how can people get in touch with you or find you if they want to, learn more about what you do and learn more about all this
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm one of those folks where when you connect with me, whether it's on Instagram at the potential you, which is the letter U, the potential you, one word, or on LinkedIn, Coach Matt Travis, or on Facebook, just look up my profile, Matt Travis. It's the one that looks like me. I always I recommend people reach out and ask me a question. Like I'm a human being and I genuinely like my dharma is to help people. That's it. And so I think a lot of times people will listen to stuff like this and they feel like, oh, I can never just reach out and ask them something or whatever it is. That's not the way I roll. So if you're more than welcome to just follow along on the journey and stuff like that. I do work with mostly entrepreneurs and do a lot of business stuff at this point in my life. But the mind, body, and business are all connected. And that's my whole thing is the mind, body, business transformation. So I do have a really cool thing that people can go through that if they want, it's just absolutely free. So, I'd be glad to give them that. And it's just to help you ultimately figure this out for yourself. And I will also shout out Lindsay. She's one of the best in the game when it comes to this. And when I brought her on as a client, I just wanted more people to find you because you just are literally a gift to the world and they just need you as a guide to help them through this process because like I said, I think this is a good way to wrap it in a bow is Lindsay won't let you accept a diagnosis that doesn't empower you. That's actually a good maybe theme for the whole podcast. But but that's the thing. It's like sometimes when you find the right person and they just get you and Lindsay's so down to earth and real with people and she has protocols at work and it's just and me and Lindsay are a team. I have when you join her program, my hypnosis recordings come with it because it's if we can help as many women as possible, that's all we really care about. That's it. So that's
sure.
it.
Awesome. Such good stuff. Yeah, I feel like we're gonna have to do this again. So
Sure. We'll do another one. We didn't even go through all the stuff, and that was pretty deep.
Yeah. But I really appreciate you taking the time to share all of this and be on here and empower and educate and all that good stuff. So thank you.
My pleasure.
I hope that conversation opened your heart and mind to a whole new layer of healing. So many of us are taught to chase physical symptoms or follow a checklist, but today was a reminder that true healing often starts within. A huge thank you to Matt Travis for sharing his wisdom and passion for transformation. You can learn more about his work and connect with him using the links in the show notes. And if this episode lit a fire in you, if you're ready to go deeper into your own healing, I want to personally invite you to join my next round of the Hunger Boss Challenge starting on August 18th. It's where we explore the connection between mindful eating, emotional triggers, and sustainable change. Because when you learn to listen to your body, everything changes. Until next time, nourish your body, trust your journey, and know that healing is always possible.